Melissa, welcome back to the podcast.
Oh my God, thank you. I'm very excited to be here again.
I'm excited to have you here again. It's actually very thrilling for many reasons. Um, and I want to start up top because we always start. Oh, and I also want to welcome everyone to Bevin, a femme over 40 and her friends podcast. I'm your host, Bevin. I'm said my name three times this time to start the show. Um, Melissa is here with us from Maine.
I'm
Uh,
here. I'm in Maine.
You're
Yeah.
in Maine. Last time you were with us, you were in California.
hmm
And uh
Next time, I'll be somewhere else.
yeah, next time, who knows? And I would love to, we always start business in the front on the podcast. So please tell us how people with what you offer and how people can work with you.
Yeah, so I'm a relationship coach. So, specifically, a relationship coach for highly politicized people. So, the work is figuring out what are my values? How am I not living aligned with my values in my interpersonal relationships? And how do I do that? And so I work with a lot of folks who are non-monogamous, a lot of folks who are queer, figuring that out, but also stuff like intimate partner violence, heartbreak, attachment, those kinds of things. And yeah, my website is melissafabello.com, and you can send a little inquiry there to learn more, and I think it's important too for people to know that sending me an inquiry or like doing a consultation call is commitment free. Like you don't have to do anything after that. You can just get the information. So I always encourage people just get the information. Why not?
Why not? Risk free. Uh,
Yeah.
the why not is the vulnerability edge. You got to push through the vulnerability every time you want connection, right? So if you want to be
Yeah.
better to yourself, got to get vulnerable with someone who can help you do that. And no one who's really doing things in their lives are doing it alone. They have like support teams to help. And so this is why I love the coaching industry so much because it
It's true.
helps people get over those hurdles. Uh,
Yes.
yeah.
Let's get over them together.
Yes, absolutely. When I came out as a queer fat femme when I was in my early 20s, I could only have done that because I had a group of friends who really supported, like, helped me
Mhm.
understand those identities and that they were a neutral thing to be. It wasn't like, um, I was so afraid to be queer and fat and
Mm.
femme, and like all of us
Mm.
felt bad for some reason. That was just like me picking up on like the way people were socially treating femmes at the time and in
Yeah.
spaces and gay spaces. And like, I'm so like on the other side of that, I felt so much liberation. And I was like, let me shout out from the rooftops and be the like kind of, you know, parasocial bestie to help you like be brave.
Yes, that's so real. And I think that it's just so true that not everybody has the community that they desire and a community that can kind of champion them in that way and help them. And it's like you literally can ask other people to do it with you, and I think a support system includes your community, but your support system also includes professionals.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And speaking of support systems, I want to just mention at the top of the show, the best way to support this podcast is through my Patreon page, patreon.com/FKDP, which stands for Fat Kid Dance Party, which is my aerobics class for anyone who feels left behind by mainstream fitness. If you've ever been called too much, too fat, or felt too awkward to dance, mine is the supportive class for you. We dance to great music together. I offer on demand classes, I offer Zoom classes, and occasionally I do pop up in person classes. But the Patreon also includes podcast episodes I don't share to the public. Like, I've been doing a series on navigating conflict in community. I do spiritual self care lessons. So there's a lot in there. And I can trace the art that I'm creating today because of the support I have received from my Patreon supporters. So thank you to everyone who supports. And I would love to work with you, and all the links are in the show notes, including the link to work with Melissa. Uh,
Yay.
this is a very timely episode
It
because
is.
there has been some news, and you know what? Let's weigh in as gay people on
Yeah,
the the
everything.
the big engagement news for Taylor Swift. It's so funny because when I watched that podcast, because like I like her as an artist, and I've already done a whole episode of this podcast, which I'll link below, about her birth chart with one of my favorite
Mhm.
astrologers, because I think she's made for what she's doing. Um,
Totally.
and she's brilliant. She's a brilliant artist and a brilliant emotive person, a person with emotions who expresses it.
Yes.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and something that I was introduced about her through you is the Gaylor um,
Yeah.
series. And like, so will you start just for anyone who doesn't know what Gaylor is?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Well, tell them what this is.
Okay. So Gaylor, Gaylor conspiracy theory, quote unquote, is I would say is like almost like a faction of the fandom, mostly made up of queer women, but not just, but mostly made up of queer women who have picked up on queer references in Taylor Swift's work. That I think is and who like analyze and look at and add historical context for these references, whether they're visual references or they're lyrics, etc. That's the basic version. Some people within that truly, utterly believe that Taylor Swift is queer and more specifically, like secretly a lesbian. And I have lots of thoughts on all of those levels. But that's basically that's the basic explanation of it's basically a community of gay, mostly Swifties or queer Swifties who share with each other and the outside world like why certain things that Taylor says or certain things that she does, especially visually, are connected to queer history. And what does that mean then?
Yeah, and what does it mean? Because it's interesting that she said I mean, I don't think there's a thing she does that isn't, especially publicly, that isn't scripted. Just given her
Mm-hmm.
astrology, like just objectively, if I didn't know her and hadn't been watching her like in pop culture for my adult life, um, I like she's got a Scorpio rising, which is just inherently very private. Most of
Mm-hmm.
my rising friends will go dark for a long time and I won't hear from them. And then poof, they'll come back up and they'll go deep, right? So you go dark, you go deep. And her chart ruler is her Mars in Scorpio, which is again, like your work is very choreographed. It's very intentional. Scorpio is an incredibly intentional sign. And it's also a very private sign, right? It's the detective of the zodiac. So anyway, I just think that it's important to note that she's doing this intentionally, right? And she said this on that podcast,
Mm-hmm.
Boys. I never thought I'd watch a football podcast, but here we are.
Same, you know?
But who I actually like, I actually just having hung out with them for 2 hours, like Taylor got me in a room to hang out with them for 2 hours, and I was like, oh, actually, I kind of enjoy them. They're fun.
Yeah, this is fun. Yeah, uh-huh.
And
They're
like,
sweet. Uh-huh.
especially the yelling one, Jason. I love how you,
Jason, yeah. The yelling one. Yeah. The one from Philadelphia. Yeah.
yeah,
The
yeah.
one who lives in Philadelphia who yells. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Was he on the Eagles?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. See, I have to say, as someone who doesn't care for football as like an idea and like an industry, but having lived a lot of places, having lived in Philadelphia like you have, that's the place I've lived where the football fans were the most intense. And so therefore,
Mhm.
my allegiance to any team is to the passion of my friends who are Eagles fans. So,
The intensity. I love that. And I grew up in New England and I'm here now. And so you think like people think the Patriots fans are intense, and it's like, no, Eagles fans are next level. Next level.
next level. Seahawks is the second most intense place I've lived, and I've lived in New York with the Giants. But
Mm.
I have to say, Seahawks fans, they're intense, but Eagles fans are next level.
Yeah, it's really true.
Our gay opinion
So
about
yes,
football. Okay, but she said this. She said this in the Kelsey interview, and then I want to pass it to you. Is like that she only does Easter eggs about her music, not her personal life.
I think that's a lie.
Okay.
That is straight up a lie. And I find it really fascinating that she said that. And I'm sure that people who are very anti Gaylor, because we call these people Hetlers, but are going to take that quote kind of and throw it at Gaylor's. I think that is a lie because anybody who has followed Taylor Swift's career knows that I don't know if you could say the Easter egg thing started here, but like there's this thing about liner notes where in her albums she would like put, she would capitalize certain letters to give you a hint as to who the song was about. That's her personal life. I guess arguably she said I would never make an Easter egg toward my personal life. It's always going to point to music. So I guess you could make the argument that like it's, the I don't know. I just feel like that's an interesting thing for her to say because I also feel like within her music, she's so known for making these little references so that you could figure out who it's about. And so, if, for example, someone is a Gaylor and what they're picking up on is like, I think this song is about this woman based on the things that she's saying, like, I don't know, some people will make the argument that because Taylor isn't publicly out, that I don't know makes you like you're sexualizing her or there's just a lot. And I'm saying this now. I don't want to say I'm a former Gaylor, but my feelings on Gaylor theory have changed over the past couple of years. And so, but I feel like I think it's ultimately homophobic, to say that like, oh, if you can read in to this song as being about a woman, or if you think that this song is queer, like you're crazy. Like that's what people will say. And it's like, I think that's just, I mean, it's clearly homophobic. You're telling queer people they're crazy for seeing queer symbolism in art. Like that's a wild thing to say, I feel like.
Yeah. And there's also like a lot of like historical context and historical context for um dropping hints about sexuality in music because it has
100%.
I mean like when I was a teen in the 90s like it was not safe to be out and like
No.
I want to point everyone to the Indigo Girls documentary, It's Only Life After All, streaming now on Netflix.com. And I think Emily makes a good point where she says, like, I don't understand people's obsession with our personal life. She's like, I'm a musician, I'm here to play music, and I don't really want
Mm,
to know about my personal life. And also, she and Amy came out as lesbian, like they skyrocketed in 1989 and then around 93 they came out and that was early like that was before Melissa Etheridge before Ellen
hmm.
like we had a cultural zeitgeist where actually people knew that gay was a thing you could be um,
Yeah.
and weren't just hearing it from like the pulpit, which by the way homosexuality wasn't in the Bible until the 1940s, so that's just
Mm.
made up. Like it like you know
Hmm. Hmm.
this is all made up. So this is where liberation really comes from, is choosing a different story to tell yourself about yourself and about your desires and all of that. So
Yeah. And I think too, like speaking of Melissa Etheridge, I always feel like this is such a great example where she's writing music, yeah, like in the 90s, where she's not using pronouns, she's not saying, it's not clear. You could assume that the songs were about a man,
mhm.
if that was the lens that you had. But then these rumors start circulating, right? Like, is she? And she fucking puts out an album called Yes, I Am.
Mhm.
I mean, come on. Like and so like again there's this history throughout all art,
Mhm.
but including music, including mainstream pop music, where these kind of like winks are given to the people who are going to pick up on it. And so I think for Gaylors to be like, oh my God, is Taylor Swift doing that, is not crazy. It's not like a thing that's never happened before. And a group of people just made something up. It's like, oh, there is a cultural context for this. And maybe that's what's happening here. I don't think that that's crazy.
I don't think it's crazy either. And I think it's also like there's something really beautiful and compelling about Taylor Swift's charisma. Like, she
Mm,
was born to be famous. Like, she's sticky. She's the kind of person you don't forget. She's the kind of person that draws strong opinions from people one way or the other. And I think one of the most important lessons I've learned in the last 6 years is like whose opinion actually matters about my life.
yeah.
And like, I think um, she's hilarious. Like the way she like I understood that she would break the internet through this engagement. It's funny because when I was watching that podcast with the football guys, like I was like, "Oh, are they engaged?" I was like, "They've got to be engaged." You know what I mean? Like I was just like, "You've been together this long. You feel you seem serious about each other." And then then the engagement popped up. So I don't know when the engagement happened, but I suspect this is the way I prefer to be engaged, which is to choose to be married like feminists together and then, to select a ring and then, take
I
photos.
love that. That's, yeah. I mean, however it happened, I think the current running theory is that it happened right after the podcast that he
Yeah.
asked her, right after recording it. But I do think that clearly it seems like it was a conversation that was happening because his dad, Travis's dad, had done like an interview where he said something like Taylor was getting antsy, quote unquote. And so they were like, just do it. Like, what are you waiting for? Like the two dads were like, just ask her.
Yeah.
So yeah, so clearly it was like a conversation that was happening, etc. But yeah, I think it was, and there is actually this really cute, speaking of Easter eggs, there's a couple of moments in the podcast, where Travis says, oh, she's the best songwriter of all time. She's the smartest woman alive. And she's like, yes, as her boyfriend. But if you watch it back now,
Yeah.
thinking that he proposed to her right after, when she says, yes, as her boyfriend, he kind of gives like a look that's like, like he's looking at the camera like boyfriend, quote unquote, just wait, So I think their relationship is very sweet. And
Yeah.
it was really fun to watch on the podcast.
And it's charming too that, well, first of all, I love that this is something I did when I was briefly performing burlesque. I called it lesbo-lesque because I insisted
Mm.
people subjectify me first. So I would read a piece before I did a striptease. And I feel like before the engagement announcement, she subjectified the relationship by
Hmm.
intimacy between her and, I just keep calling them the football guys.
I
Uh,
think that's great. I think that that's all they are. The football guys is fine.
Yeah, I mean, and I want for them to have like identities that are past their athletics, and when
Yeah.
that happens, like anyway, I love for her like how much he seemed to be in pursuit of her, and like
Oh, yeah.
how charming it is to get a friendship rate. Like that's more creative than most straight men. It mean maybe
100%. And even I feel like the way that he looks at her, the way that, like, and this is why, so speaking of the Gaylor thing and like where my shift in my kind of feelings about it. So for me, I've been interested in Gaylor theory since like 1989 era. So it's like about 10 years now that I've been like interested in this idea. I got really into it in like Lover era.
Mhm.
So, um, and really Lover came out in 2019, and since then we've gotten like 10 albums or something. So it's been a really intense time of like being able to pick things apart. And I think for me, it has always, for the most part, I would say just been a fun thing to be like, is she or isn't she? That's interesting. Why is she saying this? Why did she say this? And then people called it out as being gay. And then on her next album, she made another reference to it. Like I said, what I said. Why is she doing, why does she have this like rainbow motif? Why does she keep using lesbian flag colors? Why literally did she make a music video for You Need to Calm Down that takes place in like a gay trailer park and she's wearing a bi flag colored wig? Like there's like things where you're just like, some of the things that she has done, it's like there is actually no straight explanation for. Like there's just no explanation for it. And so I have always found it really fun. And there was a chunk of time, I would say, that I was really like, I think I'm convinced. Like, I think actually this could be a real thing, particularly when she was in her relationship with Joe Alwyn, which is her last long-term partner. And I think when they broke up, it felt very much for Gaylor's, I think, like oh my God, it's gonna happen. She's gonna come out. If she doesn't do it now, she's never gonna do it. And then she immediately got into a situationship with Maddie Healy. That was like brief. They break up. She ends up with Travis Kelce. And I think at that point, I was like, either this woman is bisexual with a preference for men, or she's bisexual and for her public persona, it just makes more sense for her to be with men. I don't think this woman is a lesbian. I just don't believe that could possibly be true at this point. And I think with her relationship with Travis, I think it was easy with her relationship with Joe to be like, that's a beard, because like they had no chemistry. People are starting to pick up on, mainstream Swifties are starting to realize now that Joe didn't necessarily treat her very well, because now she's talking about it. That was something Gaylors were talking about the whole time. It's like, it doesn't seem like he treats her very well. It seems like he kind of hides her away. Are they even in a relationship? And then the stuff with Maddie Healy, I feel like was really easy to write off as PR, even though I don't think it was. I think there was something there. I think it was really easy to be like, oh, clearly this is just like a whatever. or like a rebound even, like this is not like a serious thing.
Mhm.
But then I feel like when she ended up with Travis, and again in the very beginning, I think that was easy also to be like, oh, it's like PR for the NFL or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but I just feel like now that it's been whatever 2 years and you watch them and you see the way they look at each other, I don't think you can fake that. I don't think you can fake that kind of chemistry. I don't think you can fake that kind of like obsession with one another. They clearly are in love. And that's why at this point I'm never gonna call Gaylors crazy. Never gonna do that.
Mhm.
There are some Gaylors that really need to like chill out. Like who are
Calm
really
down.
like it's all fake. Yeah, they need to calm down. It's all fake, and this and that, and like why is she doing this? And it's like she loves that man,
Yeah.
and I think that he loves her. And just whatever your feelings are about like heteronormativity or your feelings are about men,
Hmm.
like I'm a certified man hater. I love him for her. I think that they're so good together. And I think that was for me, like, I still think that there are gay or queer sapphic reads of her music. I think there are queer and sapphic reads of visuals that she's used. And I think that that's beautiful and complex. And I don't think we need to know one way or the other why that has happened. But I do think that it's cool that people have explored it.
I think it's interesting because, like, again, I think it's the charisma and her as an artist and her being such like a bleed on the page sort of artist, songwriter that like people really want to read into and understand the stories. Like, I mean, who doesn't love the Jake Gyllenhaal like
Oh yeah,
prophecy of it
the
all?
lore.
The
Mm-hmm.
prophecy of the 10-minute song where she predicted that he would stay dating younger women and he did. Like all of that.
100%. 100%. And I think you're right. I think it's like she has always been very like, or not always, I guess. Supposedly there are times when she's not, but I think she's mostly been very like diaristic in her writing. She's very personal. That's why people relate to her.
Yeah.
It is like, oh my God, here's this woman who is a billionaire and like the most famous woman on earth, but I relate to what she's saying. Like we've all been there. And I think that's what makes her so relatable and so incredible as a songwriter, her storytelling, her like narrative, like just how she creates narrative. Um, and so I think for people to see things in her music, people see all sorts of things in her music, that are wild,
Hmm.
or with things that she does, or the ideas of like Easter eggs. I mean, people do things like, oh, she must be pregnant. Why is that not weird and creepy? You know what I mean? Like, and I think it's weird and creepy.
Yeah.
But what makes Gaylor's weird and creepy? But people who want, I mean, obviously I know the answer to this. It's homophobia, but like when you're like, oh, she's gonna get married and have babies, like that's not a creepy thing to say.
Yeah, as though she didn't sing that song about the 1950s shit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like I look forward to her making her own decisions about what she wants to do with her body and her reproduction and
Hmm.
choosing to
And
share.
I will support her either way.
I've
Yeah.
actually had mad respect for the way Paris Hilton has chosen to pursue motherhood and the way she reveals and hides things because like she doesn't even tell her
Mhm.
family when she's got a surrogate pregnant, like I love it for her because she wants that privacy so deeply and she's like
Yeah.
claiming it. One thing I want to talk about before we wrap up Gaylor is her very public friendship, quote unquote, with Carly Kloss and the holding hands. And I,
Friendship.
yeah,
Hmm.
like, listen, I am a femme's femme. Like, I decenter men. I could care less about men. And I love my femme friends and my besties so much, but we don't really hold hands.
Listen, Bevin, here's the thing. I I am a fan of platonic intimacy. I am a fan of platonic love. I have female friends who I would die for. Shout out Bridget. And I feel like but I don't hold Bridget's hand. She's my best friend in the world. And not that I couldn't, I could, I suppose. I wouldn't be completely closed off to physical intimacy with my best friend.
Yeah.
But I feel like, to me, I feel like the relationship between Taylor Swift and Carly Kloss, and I know that like the non-Gaylors are going to hate me for it, but it's like that is the thing that I can't let go. I cannot let go of the idea. It just does not make sense to me that they had the I don't know how you look at their connection through a heterosexual lens. I just don't know how you do it. Even if it was like nothing ever happened between them per se, but like maybe they both had some feelings or some confusion that happens. You know, maybe they both identify as straight, but there was a little something, that was like, people talk about those like really intense, particularly like girlhood friendships where later if like one of you or even both of you realize you're queer, you're like, oh, we were in love. Like that's what that was, we were in love. I think there's also something interesting about those boundaries and the blurriness almost between like why do we separate what is romantic love and can you feel romantic love non-sexually? Obviously you can you do that for someone who's quote unquote just a friend? I think it brings up a lot of really interesting questions. um, but I just think again, it's like, I know the song Down Bad is about Maddie Healy. I know that that's who it's about, but then she has like a lyric where she says, like I lost my twin. And you're just kind of like, Carly Kloss? You know what I mean? Like it's just so like, who could you be talking? Who looks like you? Do you know what I mean? So it's just a really, really, I find their relationship so fascinating. And I feel like if anybody is even just like slightly interested in this idea of like Gaylor theory, you should look into Kaylor. Um, that is just, I just feel like that is the thing that keeps me stuck. Is I still can't find a explanation for their relationship,
Right. And
a
like,
purely explanation.
yeah.
There's something.
Yeah. And I also, again, want to give possibilities for romantic friendships and we love them.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but like, again, like if my best friend held my hand, I would find it so tender and wonderful. But the only people I've ever felt compelled to hold their hand, especially in public, especially while we're walking around together, is someone I've been like in love with. So like,
And it's not, yeah. I could talk about this all fucking day, so let me not. But let me just say, yes, the relationship with Carly Claus, that is the place where even in this present moment where I'm really happy that Taylor seems to have someone who just like adores her. I think she deserves that.
yeah.
We all do. Like I love that for her. I think he's good for her. I'm happy with that. Like if that's where she's going to end up in life, married to a man, like I think she found a good one. Like great. Um and even if I'm in a place where I'm like, oh, like I've kind of let go of the obsessiveness of like a Gaylor theory, I still think it's interesting. It's her relationship with Carly Kloss that is what makes me not be able to let go of Gaylor completely. That is the thing that I'm just stuck.
My outfit for the Eras tour, which I only saw in the movies, was
Mm-hmm.
a big, beautiful blurple, my prom dress, my actual prom dress. I just wore it for that. And it was like I was doing the lavender haze aesthetic. But I carried for my I didn't give away friendship bracelets. I gave away a little fat kid dance party, 3 cheers for awkward enamel pins. And I had
Cute.
a little bag that I made that I printed out her holding hands with Carly Kloss at the Victoria's Secret fashion show. And then I put sisterhood over judgment on there because really,
Mm,
or, the sisters standing up for each other and choosing that over judgment. So,
I love that. I
what
love
era
it.
did you dress up? I know you saw the very first Eras tour.
So yeah, my partner at the time and I went to the opening night of Eras Tour, and my motif was like midnights. I didn't go like wild, but my motif was midnights, and then for seeing it in theaters, my motif was Lover.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
That was a fun way to ask people, like, like just what era are you presenting, and like that. It was a great way to interact with people. I liked that culture that kind
Yeah.
of popped up. It's
I
very,
know people say it's cult like, and it is. It is cult like, but there's something special about, I don't know, being on the inside of something. Not that to say that other people are on the outside, like
no,
it's not like an exclusion thing, but I think it's just something that's like, even when I'm out in public and I see someone, I'll be like, I saw someone relatively recently who was wearing like the Midnight's cardigan,
uh-huh.
and I was like, oh, is that the Midnight's cardigan? And then we were like, yeah, when do you think she's releasing Reputation, Taylor's version? This is before she said she wasn't, so, and it's just cute to be able to be like, I see you. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. And I don't think it's cult like in a bad way. Like cults, cults fill needs, you know what I mean? And the things that make cults
Totally.
bad is like the way they treat people when they leave, which like no Taylor Swift,
Right.
right? Like it's there's no like barrier for inclusion exclusion. You just learn on the internet when and how to do the dances during or the shoutbacks or all
Exactly. Right.
during the concerts. And it's just delightful. And it's like it's kind of like how Grateful Dead has Deadhead culture. That's just something
Sure.
and the band is not interested in facilitating it. They just showed up, played their music, and the culture, like the people made it happen. And I think that's something really beautiful that fandoms do is create.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay, so if Taylor Swift, so assuming Taylor Swift, like, again, and I also want to say this just as a gay person who, like, has strong ethics, like, I think it is wrong to out people, right? Like, I
Sure.
speculating on people's queerness is not, it's just rude, just like it's rude to talk about people's bodies, right? Like, don't do any
Hmm.
of those things. And yet, like, we're talking more about her as an artist and like what she makes public because it's very intense.
Right. Like a public persona.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What her public persona is. And not everyone is like an autobiographical queen who's spilling her guts on the internet. Like, that's just
Yeah.
it's right for some people, it's not right for others. But
Hmm.
if she was a queer woman who had like complicated queer relationships with people before, but has now found love and who knows if it's
Hmm.
monogamy, we don't know. But like has found love and relationship in a public way with a man. What are the questions that you would ask her as a politicized relationship coach?
I love this question. It's interesting because this is most of my clients. I mean, most of my clients are, bisexual women who have only ever been with men.
Hmm.
And so like even looking at Taylor Swift, you could say like, okay, well, she could be a bisexual woman who's maybe only ever publicly been with men.
Hmm.
And I think that it's such an interesting conversation because I find that the pain point, the thing that people struggle with the most, I would say that people claim it's not feeling accepted by the community, it's not feeling included, it's not feeling appreciated, validated, etc. What I think is underneath that is a lack of security. It's insecurity. Because if you feel secure in your queerness, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. So I think it's a lack of security in one's own sense of their queerness, more than has anything to do with anyone on the outside. So I feel like I would want to talk to Taylor about that. I would want to talk about like what is your own relationship to your queerness? What would make you feel more um, proud or secure or safe in your queer identity? Like, is it being able to make music with these like queer references and seeing that some of your fans get it and feeling like some people see me? Like, do you have, I mean, we know that she has queer friends. Like, is it being in queer community that makes you like feel good and safe? Do you feel like you choose partners who not just tolerate it but celebrate it, your queerness, etc.? What are the things, yeah, what are the things that help you feel secure in your identity that don't have to do with other people externally validating you?
Yeah.
I think that's something that we could all, in so many different ways, do better at, is like that self validation. We all crave external validation, something wrong with that.
Yeah.
But I think just being able to be like, I am who I am and I feel good about who I am. And it doesn't really matter to me what other people think,
Yeah.
per se.
Here's the thing about what other people think. You're so right. We need the external validation. But what I have learned is that if I'm discerning about whose opinion matters to me, then it makes me much more free to live in the world and not care what some, man, child 29 on the internet has to say to me from a private account. You know what I mean? Like,
Truly, truly. And it's like, yeah, if I have a really solid sense of self concept, like it doesn't really matter. No one can tell me I'm not who I am. You know what I mean? Like, it's interesting to me when people will kind of bring this, like, how do I feel valid in my queerness? And it's like, do you need to be validated externally for your favorite color if you just know what it is? Do you feel like you have to be externally validated in what are other identities that you hold that you feel solid in? Do you feel solid in your ethnic identity, your religious identity, your racial identity? If those are things you can feel solid in and nobody can come at you and tell you you're not that, You know, and if they did, you would just be like, that's, I don't know, like ridiculous. Why can't why can't you incorporate your queerness in the same way where it doesn't matter if somebody questions it? Someone could question anything about you. There are people on the internet, weird men on the internet that like question my gender. They'll always tell me that they tell me I look like I'm a trans woman, which I think they think is supposed to be a diss, but whatever. I'm like, thanks, I guess. But yeah, it's like you can say that to me, but it's not going to hurt my feelings. One, because I wouldn't think being trans is a negative thing, but it's also like, I just know that that's not true. So like, it's just like, why are you saying this? So it's like,
Yeah.
you're not making me feel confused about myself by calling me something I'm not. So like, if people say that, oh no, you're actually straight or whatever, why does that rock your self concept? I think that's the thing to sit with.
Yeah. One thing I really love about Travis Kelce is the way he talks about her accomplishments and the way he hypes.
Yeah.
Having an in-house cheerleader, I will say, like, is partnership goals for me. Like, I really like having someone who cares that you do well and like wants to facilitate you doing well. I think is
And thinks that what you do is cool, you
yes.
know, especially when what you do, like as Taylor Swift, is it's not uncool. Obviously, I think it's cool, but it's like, you know, a lot of men
Hmm.
and to feel secure in their masculinity would say that it's not cool. And to have somebody who's like a literal like football star being like, she's incredible, she's amazing. I
Hmm.
love listening to her music and like whatever. I just like I love to see it's so rare and that's why it's so sad and the bar is in hell.
Hmm.
But to see a straight man, as far as we know, like say, look at my girlfriend, my fiance, my partner. She's so beautiful. She's so talented. She's so smart. For him to say she's the smartest woman in the world, I mean, like that's so sweet. Like
And funny, she's
that's
so smart.
yeah.
Yeah. And like also, um, I just think that something that men struggle with a lot is like perception of their bisexuality, which like frankly,
Hmm.
I do agree with Honey Boo Boo that I think everyone is a little bit gay. And like I just think it's natural human diversity. It's just part of who we are. And that like gender is such an amorphous thing when you really understand it. Like
A
and
100%. It's
right,
like,
like
how can anyone be straight? The only way you can be straight is if you really truly believe deeply in gender.
yeah. And like and it's like it's I just think so much of it's a spectrum, but I love that he's like this like he's a quarterback.
Tight end.
Okay.
I don't know what that is. I never even know that that was a position. I only know it because of Taylor Swift. He's a tight end, whatever that is.
Okay, great. So he's that. And I know that he and his brother, I think they both play either offense or defense. So they don't go against each other on the field. That much I understand. Uh
You learned that from the podcast, as I did
yeah,
also.
exactly, exactly.
So,
So whatever they do, I think it's different, but they're on the same part, whatever. It's football. But Um, what I like about is he's so tender and he's so willing to like because his like no it's what is it? It's a Toni Morrison quote where like you have to be pretty sad to like have to cut down somebody else in order to feel tall. You know what I mean? Like
sure, right.
everyone's doing great. We can hype everyone. And I love how insistent they were about her being an athlete because that was the first
Hmm.
thing I noticed when I watched the Eras tour. I was like, she is skipping for 3.5 hours. That is
Right. I was like, are you tired? Are you okay?
yeah, in Louboutins. Like I'm like in heels and changing clothes. Like I don't know. Like I am so grateful she did this when her body was ready to be at this peak performance level.
Hmm.
Because like most performers do not give you 3.5 hours.
No,
Let alone at that level. And I was just impressed. I thought it was a feat, and I'm glad that those
it
football
is really impressive.
about that.
It's, I mean, just like, period. Who can do that? Not me.
Not me. I choose not to.
Well, yeah, and I don't want to. I have no desire. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm tired. I'm gonna rest.
I'm good.
And you know what? I also think that her sourdough intensity is also goals because I too long to be a good sourdough mom, but like I have been keeping a sourdough starter alive for years that my friend's mom gave me. It's like 50 something years old and maybe 60 years old now. And like I still haven't made a loaf of bread. So I'm really
Okay, well, you're in the contemplation stage.
still there, still in the conversation
Yeah.
stage.
Hmm.
Um, I also want to mention too the song Messy by Lola Young that I feel like is the song of the summer because that's the one I've heard the most. I just hope that everyone, when you listen to that song, it reminds you of some terrible ex and you raise your standards. Like, do not let people talk to you like that.
100%.
Yeah. Um, and more men, please talk to their fiancés, their wives, their girlfriends, the way Travis talks to and about Taylor.
Yes.
Yeah.
The male loneliness epidemic could be solved.
Could be solved.
Hmm.
Hang out with some secure men and get rubbed off on.
Yes.
Okay, so shifting gears. Melissa A. Fabello, Dr. Melissa A. Fabello. Um, will you tell me what it feels like to be 40? To be on the other side of 40?
To be on the other side of 40, 40 has been a fascinating time. I'm almost 9 months in.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's been a really interesting time. I think, the other day I went to the grocery store and I was carded for buying wine, and I kind of laughed because I never get carded. And, I kind of like just chuckled or whatever. And the cashier was like, "Oh, well, we have to card anyone who looks under 35." And I was like, "Okay." And so I like gave her my card, and I was like, "Well, I turned 40 this year." And she was like, "Oh, I just turned 26." And I was like, "Well, I have great news for you." And she was like, "Go ahead." And I told her, I was like, "Your 30s are going to be so good." I was like, I'm not even a year into my 40s, but I hear that your 40s are even better. I even hear that your 50s are even better. So, and we were having just this conversation about this. She was like, "Everybody keeps telling me this." And I think there is something to the idea. Like, I would never, the only, if someone came to me with a time machine and they're like, "Melissa, you can go back to being 18. Do you want that?" I would be like, maybe, yeah, so that I could make better decisions. Like, maybe, like, in that way, sure. Um, but no, I would never want to be in my 20s again. So I think that there really is something to the fact that the older you get, the more secure in yourself you are. And I think it sucks because I feel like women, girls, and women are so honestly like socialized from birth to feel like we're not enough,
Yeah.
and to feel like there's always something wrong with us and there's always something to fix and this and that. And I feel like the older you get, the more you're like, that's ridiculous. And I just like don't, I just can't, I can't even get back to that mindset. And something I've noticed too, so I know we're going to be talking about this in a bit, but I'm currently living at my parents' house for like, I'm going through this little transition period.
Mhm.
And my parents moved to this house in 1999. They moved to this house the summer between I was in eighth and ninth grade.
Oh,
So I went to high school here in Maine. And being here now, I have run into some people from high school because, like, some people either never left or they came back or whatever. So I've run into some people. And the thing that I always say is, I'm like, I know we're 40. I know you look exactly the same. Like, obviously, you look older. Like, you don't look like a teenager, but you look exactly the same. I ran into someone on the street. I haven't thought about her in fucking 25 years. Like, just have not thought about this person, like, since we graduated, and saw her and immediately was like, "Oh, you're so and so. We went to high school together." Because, like, you look exactly the same. And I guess I'm saying that to say I feel like there's so much worry, especially for women, about like, oh, once you hit like 35, like, like you're invisible. And yeah, things do change. Things with your body, like, definitely they change. That is real. And but I also think we're always our own worst, critic. We're gonna notice things that other people don't notice, etc. I feel like I'm kind of all over the place. Being 40 it actually feels neutral. It doesn't feel like anything either way. It just
yeah.
feels like another year. But I think getting over the hurdle was important because I did have that like midlife terror.
Yeah. There is a threshold about it. I feel like I'm always engaging with the way I think about experiencing another revolution around the sun and like disentangling it from like cultural expectations and observing my experience. I also like feel very like out of the matrix conception of time just as a very spiritual person, and like how I experience the world is just so different than like linear time, but then yet it's something I have absolutely no control over, is like the march forward of time, right? So
Yeah.
other than to just be real present where I'm at and grateful, and know that I'm never going to be younger than I am today. So,
Absolutely. That is so true. And I think, obviously age plays some role in our lives when it's like, if I get to live a long life, I'm still gonna die. I mean, like there is like the piece of, your mortality,
mm,
and again, there are some just in reality, like as you age, things in your body shift, and that's not just about how you look, it's about how you feel in your body, like what works and what doesn't, like things start to break down. Like that's true. The last like three times I went to the doctor with like some kind of a problem, like being like, hey, I have this issue. Every single time they were like, how old are you? Oh, it's just like they're just like it's just age. Like there's nothing wrong with you. It's just age. Like things just stop working. It's all right. Good to know. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think that there's that, but I also think the fact that we don't feel necessarily prepared for that, or that we see that as inherently negative. I think it's ageist. I think it's ableist. It's like we aren't taught to be prepared to become disabled, which is where we're all headed.
yep.
So yeah, if we're not obviously disabled already. So it's just very interesting. And I feel like the older I get, again, the more confident I feel, the more secure in myself that I feel. And there are things that I have to think about, like, oh, I got to do more functional exercise because I'm going to lose the ability to do certain things if I don't. So those kinds of things come up. But yeah.
Yeah, use it or lose it. I am a big fan of movement practice as a way of experiencing more joy and relief in the body because
Hmm.
a lot of what we experience as aging is actually just lack of movement. 60% of
It's true.
60% of adults do nothing, literally no movement practice at all. So, you wonder why it hurts to bend over. So,
Yeah,
um,
right. It's like you're sitting all day, which again, there's reasons why our culture has, created that as a problem, but it's like, yeah, that would create problems, if you're not oiling your joints or whatever, like they're not going to work as well. Yeah.
yeah, ugh, and fish oil. Okay.
Mm,
Let's slide right in to your big life transition,
yeah.
um, mutual aid, and all of the things. Like, I just feel like so grateful to see you on the other side of this, and that you opened yourself up very vulnerably for help.
It was really scary. So basically, the story is that 3 years ago, I moved to Los Angeles with my partner at the time. It was a crisis type situation. And I don't say forwent, but like kind of like because it was like a crisis situation, I did not hold on to generally kind of like a rule or whatever that I have for myself, which is like I don't make decisions for a relationship unless I know that I would be okay if we broke up. So for example, if I'm going to move into an apartment with someone, I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, we can do this, but it has to be an apartment that I can afford on my own, if needs be.
Yep.
Like I have to be able to like survive without you. I
Hmm.
don't want to be in a situation where us breaking up is going to cause like a huge it's already hard emotionally. I don't need it to be hard financially as well. So
Hmm.
that's always been something really important to me. But with this situation, I couldn't really think that way. So I was just like, we got to go, let's go.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, the one time that I did not think that way, just so happened to be the time that I was in a relationship living in one of the most expensive cities in the world, where my partner was mostly financially supporting me.
Hmm.
And when we broke up, um, I had this decision to make of, do I want to move back to Philadelphia or do I want to stay in LA? I felt like I did not want to make a decision based in like a crisis situation. I didn't want to make a decision so fast. So I decided to stay in LA. I was like, I'll sign a 1 year lease. Let me see how it goes, and then we'll see. Well, it went badly, Bevin. So LA is too damn expensive. It is too expensive. When I got here to Maine and I saw the gas was 289, it's like 550 in LA. Okay.
Yeah.
So like all of these things, or I got a pedicure with my mom the other day. Pedicure was like $60. I was like, I was paying like $100 in LA for this exact same thing. So, um, so I was like, I gotta go. I was like, I cannot stay in this city. It's too expensive. I can't make rent. I'm like stressed, and I had gotten to a point where I maxed out all my credit cards. I maxed out my financial support from my parents. Um, my mom's retired, my dad's disabled, so they're on a fixed income. Like they don't have a ton of money to give. My parents are middle class, uh, so I maxed out that, and
I think it's a one and a half bedroom or one and a half bathroom house that you told me.
right,
So like
yeah.
not a lot of bathrooms.
There's not a lot of bathrooms, like
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, now that I'm here, not a lot of bathrooms.
Yeah.
Um, but and then also with my friends, like they hit a limit too, and I was like, what am I gonna do? Um, I was like, I have to move, but I don't even know how I could afford to move. Like, I don't even have the money to move. If you've never moved across the country, listeners, let me tell you something. A cross country move is incredibly expensive. It is extra expensive if you want to take your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have nice stuff or stuff, and nice, it could be expensive, or it could be like, I feel emotionally attached to this. Like if you have stuff that you don't want to leave behind, it is so expensive to move across the country, tens of thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I got so lucky. I have a friend, Veronica Adams. She is a
What is it?
she does
Bread and roses, salt and roses.
yeah, salt, bread, and roses.
Salt bread
Salt,
and
bread,
roses.
and roses. Yeah, but I think maybe her Instagram is just salt, bread, roses. I don't know. I'm gonna have to. We'll
We'll
figure
link
it
it.
out.
We'll link it in the show.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Link
It's
it.
worth your time to follow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but she's great. She's great, and she is a fundraiser. That's what she does for organizations and for individuals. And she was like, "Let's do a fundraiser." And I was like, I mean, yeah. In my head, I was like, "Okay, we'll do this fundraiser, but I bet my mom will help me. It won't even, whatever, it's fine." But then I talked to my mom, and she was like, "Melissa, I can't." She was like, I'm in debt. I put her like $10,000 in debt. Like she was like, "I can't help you
Yeah.
like anymore." And I was like, "Oh, well, I really need this fundraiser to work." Like I thought that like, you were gonna help me move across the country, and she did help. But you know what I mean? Like she did donate to the fundraiser. But so yeah, so Veronica put together a fundraiser, and kind of her part of her thinking was, she's like, "Melissa, you do mutual stuff all the time. You educate people on mutual aid. You have sliding scale, for the work that you do. You offer people free things all the time. You work with people who want to join like your groups. Like you'll let people do it, for less money or whatever." She's like, you share mutual aid posts. You raise money for your friends. Like there's all sort of, why do you feel like you don't deserve that same kind of help? And Bevin, it's so tough when you're put in that position and you're like, I mean, here we are in 2025. The world is a disaster. I mean, it's always been, not always. It has been for a really long time. And things are so bad. People feel so awful. People are dying all over the world in like genocide.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "Help me move across the country. Give me money." It's a really, really hard thing to believe that you deserve. And I don't even necessarily know that. It's so funny to say that, because I really want to say I don't know that I personally deserve, quote unquote, anything. But I also believe that everybody deserves to have their needs met.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that question of, why do we sit, or happens with body image all the time, where people will be like, "Oh, I know that bodies are just bodies, and I don't give a fuck what anyone looks like." But for myself, and like people just can't get over, that hurdle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I felt. But I got it. It was just such a beautiful experience to have folks donate to this fundraiser, to the point that I actually could move across the country. Like my stuff is coming in a couple of days. Like I literally could not have done this. This was kind of the only option I had to rebuild. I was like, I am so in debt. I don't make enough money. The economy is so bad that I don't know how to get more clients, really. In a situation where people don't have a lot of disposable income. Social media has just died, really,
Mm-hmm.
as like an option for entrepreneurs. I don't know what to do, and I'm in such a scarcity mindset that I can't even think. Like I don't have creativity because I'm in survival mode. And the only thing that I can do you think that I'm like, oh, at 40, you know what I would love to do? Go move in with my parents in Maine. No, that is not like my most joyous choice, right? But I was like, it's an option. I have a safety net. Not everyone has that. My parents are willing to let me move in, so that I can and not pay any rent, so that I can like pay off debts. I can save money. I can, da da da. I gotta get there,
Hmm.
but I can't, and to have people be like, yeah, girl, we get it, and to help. I don't even know that it's completely sunk in yet. How, like, I feel relief and I feel gratitude, but I don't know that but it almost feels, what is it? This like somatic experience. It doesn't feel like grounded in my body. It feels kind of like it's floating like around me, like very close to my body, but it hasn't quite like settled in my body. How relieved and how grateful and just how wild of an experience this has been. So that's the long story.
I love the long story. This is why this is a long form podcast. Uh, and you know what? Like, I feel like in some ways, there's like, of course, everyone deserves to have their needs met, but it's also a thing like when you give of yourself so freely on the internet and you're like giving, giving, giving value, it's so beautiful to allow people to step in and give some reciprocity for that. And
Oh, Bevin, and I think that that's the thing, right? Is I feel like when you're a person who's like a care worker,
mhm,
you're a person who, right, you think about teachers, you think about people who work in nonprofits, nurses, like people who their job is to support other people. These are people who get paid shit,
mhm,
compared to like other professions. It's work that's associated with women and therefore is not respected. It's and there is this issue in those fields of the fact that these relationships are very one-sided. I help you.
mhm.
Like that is my job. And like, yeah, I get, I've been a teacher, like you get like fulfillment. I've worked in nonprofit, like you get fulfillment from the work, emotionally, but it's like financially you're not being like, you're not terribly secure. And yeah, it's not your clients or your patients or your students' job to take care of you. And that's where like compassion fatigue comes in. And so I think similarly, doing work online where it's like, okay, yeah, I've just been giving out free information for like a decade or more than that. That for people to kind of recognize that and be like, yeah, I've learned so much from this person. What's $25? I can give her $25. You know what I mean? Like, it is a sense, ultimately, it is reciprocity where it's like, I got something from this person, or maybe I was not in the position at one time to pay her for something, but now she needs help. And I'm in a different financial position. Let me help. Or to know that people are the other thing that, like, people have kind of, the way that people have put it is almost like my politics are as radical as they are because of you and other people who I learned from. And you and these people have radicalized me to believe in mutual aid. So it's now my job to participate in it. Um, yeah, it's been such a humbling in a lot of ways, I think, experience to feel like, because my mom kept saying as I was like, oh yeah, it's like I'm gonna make it, and she was like, people just love you. And she was like, and like I understand why, she's like, I'm your mother, like I understand why people love you. She's like, but like that's a lot of love from strangers on the internet,
Yeah.
to help you in such a gigantic endeavor. And I think that's what's so humbling about it. It's just like, wow, like I don't know. There's almost like a feeling of like, how could I pay these people back? And it's like, no, I think that they were paying you back. I think that's what they thought they were doing, But it does feel like, oh my God, I'm so grateful
Yeah.
because we so rarely get a chance to start over.
Right. And I think also there's something to the parasocial relationship too, is like people just genuinely have concern for you and like you took a risk for love and then like how relatable, you know what I mean? I mean, I had a very
Sure.
similar experience like moving to LA for a partner and like breaking my rules and like being like,
Never again. Like, turns out those are good rules to have. But yeah.
yeah. I mean, and good rules, but like also the Stevie Nicks quote, everything you're afraid of will come to pass and you will be okay. And
Mm-hmm.
Like, but how you become okay is through vulnerability. And like, I'm so like, this podcast started before I moved away from LA, and while I was dealing with that year of uncertainty and like trying to figure out, do I stay? Like, I can't afford this rent on my own. Like, how am I going to do this? And I figured it out until suddenly one month I was like, oh, the rent's not paid. Oh, it's time to
Yep.
come, because I have literally just enough money to pay for a moving truck and like and move to Washington where my mom lives. And 6 years later, I am so glad I made that choice. And I've healed so much in this time. And I'm super grateful. And like super grateful for my Patreon supporters, because that little nugget of Patreon money made me know that I could at least pay the cheap rent in Washington. And so,
I know, but that's so true. And I think people don't realize how important stuff like that is. Like those subscriptions where it's okay for you, it's $5 a month or whatever.
mhm,
For me, it's like I can buy groceries. For
yes.
me, it's like it actually makes a gigantic difference in my life to like get that, little chunk that comes from wherever. It's like, and I don't think even with something like a GoFundMe where people feel like, oh, I feel like stupid, I can only donate $10, $20. It's like, yeah, but if a bunch of people donate 10 or $20, you don't have to donate $1,000. Like that's not reasonable, you know? Most people don't have that. But that like quote unquote little bit
Mhm.
can make a huge difference for people. It's the same way I think, if I see someone, who's unhoused, and I'm like, oh, I don't have any cash. I can go to the ATM, but the ATM's only going to give you 20s. But it's like, what am I going to do with this $20?
Mhm.
What am I going to do with this? I'm going to order something online that I don't need. You know what I mean? So it's like, may as well give it to someone, who needs it more than I do, And I think it's important for us to like think about how these quote unquote small actions, especially in this current political climate
Mhm.
where people feel so helpless, to remember that like really small actions can actually make a really big difference.
Yeah. And if you value art, there's something that Veronica of Salt, Bread, and Roses said. She did an Instagram takeover for you, and she did a Q&A.
Yeah.
And I asked about like what's the temperature on like crowd funds for art, and she was like, "Listen, there's no funding for art right now. Like if people, it's got to be fan funded. Like that's what's happening. So like if things matter to you and you want them to keep existing, don't underestimate how important your $5 is. Like I've donated
100%.
or GoFundMe. I was one of the first people who donated. I felt so good about myself, and I wished I could. I mean, honestly, when I heard what you were going through, I wished I could be rich already and just fund the whole thing for you. But then,
I know, I get that feeling too, where I'm like, I wish I was rich so I could just throw my money at other people.
yeah.
Like
But
I
then,
wish.
if I had done that, then you wouldn't have had the humbling experience of like experiencing like all of this love coming to you in these little $5 increments. And
Or even people donating like week by week, like a little like it truly has been like a really beautiful experience. And I just feel I just want people to know that literally like landing here. And again, it's like my childhood. I had like two childhood homes because like I said, I went to high school here.
mhm,
Um, so this is one of my childhood homes, and that is a traumatic experience, like being home with your parents, whatever. Um, and yet I feel the most like relief, the most like calm that I have felt in years, because it's like this huge weight is off. I've been sleeping the amount of sleep, like I cannot tell you, I'll sleep like 12 hours in a night and then take a 3 hour nap. And I was talking to my therapist about it, and I was like, should I be worried that I'm depressed? Like, what is this? And she was like, that's definitely something to like think about. But she was like, you're probably just emotionally exhausted. You're exhausted. And you are finally in a situation where you feel like you can rest,
yes.
you know? And that is huge. That's huge. I feel like I'm going to look back on this time in my life as just one of the times that I'm just so grateful for in so many ways, getting to spend time with my aging parents, as a full grown adult, being back in this like part of the country where I grew up that I don't spend a lot of time anymore.
Mhm.
Um, I've been joking because it's Maine, it's all like woods and ocean. And so I've been joking with people that I feel like, like I'm in like a book where they're like, go to your uncle's and like heal by the sea, like for a summer or whatever. Like that's what I feel like I'm doing. I'm just embracing it.
I love it. It's woods, ocean, and lobsters.
Yeah, well, that the lobsters are in the ocean, so
Mhm.
yeah. And moose are in the forest.
Oh,
So I feel like that's, I also think about a lot about moose and lobster. I haven't seen either since I got here, but yeah,
yeah, but it's there. It's energy.
they're there.
Yeah,
Their energy. I can feel the lobster energy. Yeah.
yeah,
Crustacean energy.
yeah. I don't see orcas every day, but I do sometimes, and I know they're there. I can vibe with them. I know that. I know that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Melissa, I am so grateful that you exist in the world. Thank you for everything you put out in the world and for also just modeling this mutual aid experience. Like watching it happen, like I felt like I learned something from it. And like I was like, we're gonna get through this together. Like there's hope, And like I do think I don't know, we're in this together. It's like we're not our hyper individualistic nuclear family system is broken and doesn't work and like we need each other. And yeah.
We really do. And I feel like, people had messaged me and stuff when I first like put the fundraiser out there and stuff and literally saying like, we got you. We're going to do this together. And I do feel like there is something about even people that like you make connection with and maybe you don't talk every day, like even like our connection, but it's like I care about you, like I want to see you succeed. I believe that at the end of the day, we have to have each other's backs. So to see people like living that is really powerful to watch. And I think it's also really powerful when you are participating in that to be like, look at me living my values. It is really heartwarming for everyone.
Yeah. Well, Melissa Fabello, I can't wait to have you on again. Thank you for
I know.
them, and I adore you.
Thank you so much. Bye.